ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, אב הרחמן. משוק עבדך אל רצונך, אל רצונך. ירוץ עבדך כמו הים, ישתחווה מול הדרך. ידיד נפש, אב הרחמן, אב הרחמן. משוק עבדך אל רצונך, אל רצונך, אל רצונך. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom, Carl. What a way to start the night, to start Shabbat. Eat, drink, be merry, for tonight is Shabbat, to change the lyrics a little bit to that phrase. Welcome to Friday night at CBI. We invite you to be with us for the next little while, to sing with us, to sing with your loved ones, to prepare your Shabbos, to bring in Shabbos with us. As we begin on page 11, if you've got these Sidurim, it's Psalm 95.
Lechu niranina, lechu niranina, lechu niranina, l'Adonai. Lechu niranina, lechu niranina, lechu niranina, l'Adonai. Naria, Naria, Tzur Yishen, Nikad Mafanav, Betoda. Naria, Naria, Tzur Yishen, Bezmi Road, Rialo, Lechudiranina, 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 l'Adonai. Lechudiranina, 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 l'Adonai. Ki el gadol Adonai melech gadol kol Elohim.
We're turning to the bottom of page 12 at the triangle.
Repeat after me. Arba'im Shana.
Arba'im Shana.
Akud Bidor.
Akud Bidor.
Vahoma. Amto Elevav Heim.
Amto Elevav Heim.
Vahim Lo Yadu.
Vahim Lo Yadu.
Derachai.
Derachai.
Together we sing. Asher Nishbati V'Api. Im Yavon El Menuchati. Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru l'Adonai, Kol ha'aretz, Shiru l'Adonai, Bachu Shemo, Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Sapu v'goyim kevodo, Bechol ha'amim niflotav, Ki gadol Adonai. Oh, Meola, Meo, no Rahu, Al Ko Elohim.
We're on the bottom of page 14.
Ya'alo Sadai, V'chol Asher Bo, Ya'alo Sadai, ay, 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 Ya'alo Sadai, וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי. איי 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 איי, אז ירננו כל עצי יער, 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 יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי. איי 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 איי, לפני אדוני קיווה, קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים באמונתו.
All right, beautiful, right? I know you agree. We're going to turn now to page 16, Psalm 97, Or Zarua.
Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Or Zarua לצדיק ולשווה לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק ולשווה לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק ולשווה לב שמחה. ולשווה לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק ולשווה לב שמחה. ולשווה לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק ולשווה לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק ולשווה לב שמחה.
All right, beautiful. Let's turn to page 21 for Psalm 29. It's a psalm that we do. We have the word, what word do we have? Kol Adonai. That phrase 7 times for the 7 days of the creation for Shabbat. Wherever you are, I invite you to rise if you want. Get into it, move your body as we sing Psalm 29 on page 21.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בני אלי, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, כל אדוני על המים אל הכבוד, הרים אדוני על מים רבים. כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני על זהב ארנון, ויקידם כמו עגל לבנון, וציון כמו בן רמים, כמו בן רמים. כל אדוני חוצה לעבוד אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני חולל איילון, ויחשוף ירוד ובכלו כולו אומר כבוד, כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יבורך את עמו בשלום. You know where that takes us.
I do. You ready?
Just to the right up to the edge.
My favorite part of the week. Lecha Dodi, page 23.
Lecha dodi leka kala yavabai Penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi leka kala yavabai Penei Shabbat nikabela Shamo v'zachu v'dibo echad Hishmianu el ha'mayuchad Adonai echad U'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litila Lecha dodi lecha kalo yavabai Penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi lecha kalo yavabai Penei Shabbat nikabela Likrat Shabbat lechov necha Ki mekor haberacha Merosh mikedem Nesucha sof Maaseh b'machshava tehila Lecha dodi lecha kalo yavabai Penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha dodi lecha yavabai Penei Shabbat nikabela. Change it up a little bit. Page 25. Lecha dodi lekrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Yopmin usmu tifrotzi v'et Adonai Ta'aritzi al yad ish ben parzi v'nismecha v'nagdil alecha dodi lekrat kahala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Our tradition is to face the doorway to greet the Shabbos bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam besimcha uv'tzahala Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha dodi lekrat kahala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Say ay da day ay day ay da day ay day ay da day. Having greeted that Shabbos bride, that Shabbos queen, the beauty who entered the room, only appropriate to sing a song for Shabbat. Mizmor Shir Hayom HaShabbat. Page 27 if you're following along. Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon Lehagid b'boker chasdecha Ve'munacha b'lelot Tzadik hatamar yifrach Ke'erez b'alvanon yizker שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשבע, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי, ולא הפלטה בו. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נעבר קודש אדוני לאורך ימים. And that is Kabbalat Shabbat. I invite those in mourning or observing a yahrzeit to join me on page 30 for Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah b'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yamechon b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach v'olam ul'olmei al-maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'yimaru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol yoshvei tevel v'yimaru. Amen. Our teacher, Rabbi Goldstein.
Good Shabbos, Carl.
Good Shabbos, Rabbi.
I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to tell a story tonight. I just felt like I'm in a story mood. And I'm going to tell a story that I first heard, I can't remember how young I was, in junior congregation at the shul in which I grew up. It's a story like almost all the stories that I heard as a kid. It's a story about a Jewish story about a poor couple in Poland, right?
Wow. I've heard that one.
Right, exactly. Wait, oh, forget it, I'm good. Right. It's like, oh, this is the Three's Company with a misunderstanding. So that was a nice pop culture reference from 40 years ago. Here's a story of a poor couple in Poland. This couple tried everything to make a living. They tried everything you can imagine a poor couple would do in Poland, and finally, the wife and the husband had heard about this place to go where you can find your fortunes. It's across the sea, and the wife, we'll call her Sarah, she said, go across the sea and make your fortune. The man, we'll call him Mendel, he said, you know, Sarah, I don't want to go. And she said, you know what, Mendel, go. I know you're afraid of boats. It's okay. You go across the sea. I'll be fine at home. I know you don't like to travel. Is it a Jewish man who doesn't like to travel, doesn't like, motion sickness? I'm sure he was lactose intolerant as well. Very different than most Jewish men. And she said, go, go, go. And so she finally, Sarah convinced Mendel to go. And she packed Mendel with food and sewed him a coat with extra big pockets. It's a coat you can take off if it's too warm and put on if it's too chilly. It's got these pockets. It could put everything on his trip. So he set out of town. He went to the harbor. He found a boat and found the captain that would take him across the sea. But since he's a Jewish man on a boat, and in our history, Jewish men don't fare very well on boats, turns out his fear was justified. The whole trip, the boat was tossed and turned and shaken by the waves. You're getting nauseous just thinking about it, aren't you? The waves were getting up, the sky opened up, and it began raining so hard he couldn't see in front of their faces on the ship. Mendel closed his eyes and hoped he would find himself back in bed with his wife. But that wasn't to be. The storm raged and raged until eventually the ship was wrecked. And the next thing he knows, Mendel wakes up, and he can't even open his eyes because it's so bright. Even with his eyes closed, he sees how bright it is, and he can hear the waves. So he figured he must be on a beach. And he felt a pain in his side. When he was able to sit up, the pain in his side went away, but what followed was a pain in, well, let's just say his seat. And he tried to slowly open his eyes, and he realized that the sand on which he was sitting was the shiniest, most reflective sand he's ever seen, and it was sharp. And he couldn't understand. And suddenly he reached down and he cut his hand on this sharp sand. When he looked down to see what had cut him, he thought it was going to be a shell or something, but it was actually the sand. See, the sand itself wasn't sand as we know it, but covering the entire beach where sand would be were diamonds. Mendel, finally, his eyes adjusted enough, he could open his eyes all the way, and he let out a yell like you've never heard, a yawp. And he did what anyone would do. He started stuffing in his diamonds. He started stuffing diamonds everywhere he could find it. And he jumped along the beach, and he was so excited. The cut in his hand didn't matter anymore. Nothing mattered. His pockets were bulging. And when he exhausted himself, he looked happy. For the first time in a long time, he was so happy. And then, being Jewish, the next thing he did was get hungry. He went from happy to hungry. And to his surprise, he saw that just off the beach, there were stores and restaurants. This wasn't some deserted island that no one had ever been to. So, Mendel marched himself into the closest restaurant he could find, and he sits himself down, and he orders everything. He's been starving from this trip. He probably threw up from the motion sickness, and he can finally eat. So he says, "Bring me everything you have," and he orders everything. And they bring him the food, and it's delicious, and he loves it, and he's sitting back like a king. And at the end of the meal, he reaches in his pocket, and he plunks down a diamond, and he says, the man starts laughing. He says, "What are you doing trying to pay with that?" He said, "Oh, I'm sorry." He reaches out in a couple. And the man says, "What are you doing? Those are rocks. But that's not how we pay for things around here. You have to get our real currency, potatoes." Mendel was saying, "What?" Yes, potatoes were our currency. Mendel was in shock. So the owner of the restaurant was a nice man, and he let him wash his dishes. He let him wash dishes to work off his bill. And Mendel worked hard and was offered a job as a dishwasher, and he accepted. He was a good worker, and he managed to earn some money, some potatoes there, and he worked his way up to manager. Soon the owner said to Mendel, "You know what? I'm going to retire. The restaurant is yours." So this poor man, Mendel from Poland, gladly accepted and continued to grow this restaurant. And he became wealthy. And he made more and more money. He owned more businesses. After a couple of years of doing all of this, he remembered his poor wife. And he missed her. He missed her every day. And he said, "I've got to go back. I've finally made enough that I can go back." So he sent a note to his wife that he was coming home. He hired ships to sail with him, a giant ship packed with all the potatoes as high as he could, another ship for another set of potatoes. And thankfully, this fear of the ocean didn't come into play this time. It was a smooth journey home. When he arrived at the docks, he stood on the bow of the ship, and guess what he yelled? Because everybody does on the bow of a ship. "I'm the king of the world." He greeted his wife with a big smile. He opened his arms and he said, "Here I am. We're rich. Look." And his wife was crestfallen. She had seen her husband coming in, and she saw him at the bow of a ship covered in rotting sea salt watered potatoes. that were getting old and stinky and a putrid mush. So she shouted at him, "You fool! You were supposed to bring back money, you were supposed to make money, and you brought these lousy potatoes. Wasn't there anything good where you went?" And Mendel sat down right there in shock, realizing how much he had forgotten, realizing the opportunity that was wasted. And he cried out, he cried and cried. And his wife, after she comforted him and consoled him, went to look if something was salvageable. And through all the potatoes, she looked, and you know what she found? That jacket that she had made him, that he wore on his first day. And she reached into one of the pockets. She saw the diamonds. And she reached into another pocket, and she saw another set of diamonds. And she started celebrating and going crazy and being so happy. When she showed her husband, they smiled and they laughed. Without remembering it, without even meaning to, he had taken enough diamonds home that they would be set for life. Now, I said I heard that story for the first time when I was a little child. I've been hearing it ever since. And I can't tell you how many times I've thought about what it would be like to wake up on an island of diamonds, thinking about what it would be like to pick it up as easy as a pebble. And it wasn't until I met my fiance and I had kids and I have this life, and I realized, oh wait, I live on that island. We all do. We live in a place that has moments and has diamonds everywhere we look. We just have to know to pick them up, to cherish them, to not be fooled by everyone around who thinks that potatoes are the currency with which we live our life. It's the diamonds. They're the moments with families, the moments that fill our souls. The potatoes, those are money and they're important. They're status items and they're ego-feeding moments to pursue ambition and glory. But when we run after potatoes because we think it'll make us happy, we just end up with a putrid mush. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we get rid of all our possessions. I like my iPad and I like my stuff, my watch a little too much. There are, though, great things in this world. But we have to train ourselves to recognize, to remember what's truly precious, what's truly valuable, and to gather the diamonds while we can. Shabbat is about gathering those diamonds. It's our time on the beach, our time to gather our precious belongings, our parents, our children, our loved ones. Shabbat can allow us to come together free from the rush of everyday chores to celebrate our relationships and our love for one another. May we all be blessed to collect diamonds. May we be able to be rich in love and in true happiness. May we find our account balances filled with loving relationships, good deeds, and fulfillment. And may we be blessed to enjoy many beautiful moments together. Shabbat Shalom. Should we do the Baruch Hu?
Let's do it.
All right, page 39A. Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמואל, חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים, אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו, ויורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, והיה אם תשמע על מצוותי אשר היום שלמון. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. On page 44. Moses and Miriam and the people of Israel joyfully sang to you, Adonai. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise and working wonders? מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך לדעת בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכות חברה ובניך בוקר ים לפני משה, זה אלינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 45. השכיבנו Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim. Ushmor tzetenu לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Baruch atah Adonai הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ועל כל יושבי תבל. On page 46, I invite you to rise. The people of Israel shall observe Shabbat, maintaining it as an everlasting covenant throughout all generations. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asod et Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפל. יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכו בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיא. יתברך וישתבח ויתבהר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמי דקודשה לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירה ביומה ואמרו אמן.
The silent Amidah begins on page 47 and goes through page 52.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן.
We turn to page 53 for the Vayechulu.
ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ויעמד דבר קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכם ובימיכם ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בעגל ובזמן קריב ואמרו
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה.
Yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו
Amen.
תתקבל צלות הון אבות הון דכל ישראל קדם אבו הון די ושמיא ואמרו
Amen.
שלום הרבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו
Amen. We're going to turn for a moment to page 75 and bless our children. Yisimchem Elohim ke'Ephraim u'chemenashe u'kesara Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom. May God bless and protect you. May God's face shine upon you and bestow kindness upon you. May God's face be lifted toward you, and may God grant you peace. And let us say,
Amen.
all right.
Kiss him on the kepi if you're lucky enough to have him near you.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to do some Kiddush. Should I do that?
You go right ahead.
All right. And, yeah, just in a moment we'll do announcements. But first I'm going to do Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'tzotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'avav ratzon ichilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher liyetziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha Be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Aleinu, page 56.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים שחרים מודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אלות, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, והארץ מתחת, אין עוד, אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
In just a moment, we'll recite the Mourner's Kaddish, the Kaddish Yatom, on page 58. In our community this week, we're commemorating the yard sites of Sonia Schwartz-Altman, Bentley Pritzker, Ernest Skoboloff, Theda Beth Leventhal, Claire Klein, Erwin Weinstein, Hanan Goldman, Benjamin Wachtel, Hilda Schultz, Blossom Katz, Bruce Summer, Norman Greenberg, Isaac Tucker, Regina Levy, Morris Krzypki, Chasea Arnon, Max Altman, Jamie Borovinsky, Shirley Mirowitz, Ruth Jaffe, Janet Biddle, Rosalind Feldman, Robert Liebenson, Lillian Wachman, Lisa Heller, and Jamil Alfi. May all of their memories be a blessing. Wherever you are, if you're in mourning or commemorating yahrzeit, I invite you to recite the Mourner's Kaddish with me. Yisgadal v'yiskadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yirsei v'yamlich machusei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beis Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman karib v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulmei olmaya. Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yispa'ar v'yisramam v'yisnasei. V'yisadar v'yisaleh v'yisalal shemei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchasa v'shirasa tushbechasa v'nechemasa da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Announcements: tomorrow morning services are at 9:30.
Yismechu.
Yismechu services are at 9:30.
Yes.
I totally forgot until you just said that. Thank you.
I'm back in the morning.
Yeah.
Cantor Amy and I and Rab Goldstein.
That's
the three
me.
of us. We'll take
We'll
charge.
have fun. We're going to have fun. Also, Sunday, hopefully you're joining us for, as we celebrate Rabbi Spitz, a much-deserved celebration of an amazing career. Join us in celebration of Rabbi Spitz. We're really excited for that. And one other announcement, personal. I don't know that if he's watching or not, but it's my brother's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. And given that he's a member of this community, I thought I would wish Josh happy birthday. I'm excited to celebrate with you and have Shabbos dinner with you. We conclude our service with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi HaSharim, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malchi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem LeShalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malchi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Ni LeShalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai 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 yai. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Good Shabbos, Carl.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good Shabbos.